Today we're going to look at how I brew a pour over. Pour overs are one of my favourite brewing methods. They bring out all of the fruity, complex and floral flavours that you can get out of coffee that you wouldn't otherwise find in other brewing methods, and it's also a really good entry-level brewing method for people who want to get into coffee. It was only just over half a year ago that I had my first pour over, and I started my coffee journey with espresso. So knowing espresso pretty well and being an espresso fanatic, I was really I wasn't very keen to try pour overs. I thought it was going to be really watery and sort of like dull. I had like French presses before, and it was just really not me at all. So I wasn't really looking forward to trying it, but I knew that I had to try it at some point to expand my knowledge in coffee. And I tried it for the first time and I was thinking, wow, this actually tastes really nice, fruity, complex, and overall just a really good experience. I still frequently drink espresso and prefer making espresso over filter, but when I do drink filter and make it, this is how I do it. So in order to make a pour over, you're going to need a set of scales, you're going to need a timer, preferably a pouring kettle. You can use a normal kettle, however I prefer to use a pouring kettle only because you have more control over where the water goes. This is called a gooseneck kettle, and it has a long spout which allows you to concentrate the water on a particular point, so that way you have more precision in your brews. You're also going to need a brewing cone. So this is a Hario V60. This is an O2. You can get three sizes, O1, O2 and O3. We're using O2 because we're only doing 1 cup. And if you don't want to do it directly over a cup and you're making more than 1 serving, then get a carafe. You'll also of course need filter papers. So these are Hario V60 O2 papers. And you'll need a thermometer to read the temperature of the water. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to fold our paper. So you're going to take one of your filter papers. If you've got a V60, you're going to have to fold them. If you've got a Kalita, they come essentially ready to use. And all you're going to do is you're going to take the ribbed section and you're going to fold it over like that. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your filter paper, you're going to put it in the cone, and you're going to gently just push down. And what this will do is, you see how at the back here, it kind of sticks out? All you're going to do is you're going to keep that pushed down, and then you're going to fold along that bend. And all that's going to do is it's going to make sure that the filter is completely flush with the brewer all the way around, because these papers are larger than the brewer. So there we go. And then next we're going to get ourselves some hot water. So water is very important. Most people ignore water, the water quality. It's very important that you've got filtered water or good quality water. This is because the majority of the drink, the majority of your coffee at the end is going to be water. It's something like 98% of it is water. So if you've got bad water and you're brewing your coffee with bad water, it's going to taste bad. You're going to get all of the impurities in the water in your coffee. So you need to make sure that you're using filtered water. And we're going to be using 91-degree water. So I will just fill up the pouring kettle. There's our 91-degree water. And we're just going to rinse out, like wet, the paper. And all this is going to do is it's going to remove the paperiness, the papery taste out of the filter. It's just going to like rinse it out and wash it a bit. And it's also going to heat up the brewer, so that's really important as well. And then you're just going to dump the water out. So now that's preheated, I'm going to go and grab my coffee. So I've got a new bag of filter coffee today. I'm going to be using Kabingo. It's from Origin Coffee Roasters. It's one of their new ones. And it's got notes of blackberry, white peach, and brown sugar. So this is like the perfect sort of coffee for a filter. So for this recipe, I'm going to be using a 1:15 ratio. So that's 1 part coffee to 15 parts water. And we're going to be using a dose of 13 grams. So I'm just going to dose out 13. It's okay to have a little bit over, because that will be retained in the grinder anyways. And for my grind setting, I've got it set to a medium grind size. So I'm using the Wilfer Savart grinder, if I'm correct, and I've just got it on the filter grind size. There's just a grind size that says filter with a mark on it. And we're just going to grind that. It's really important that you grind your coffee fresh because you'll get the best flavour out of it. Okay, so we've got our coffee, and we're just going to dump that into the brewer. And we're going to give it a quick shake, just to flatten the bed. This way it brews evenly. Now, most people tend to make a hole in the middle. I don't tend to do that. I don't think it really does much. I certainly haven't seen any improvements or noticed any difference in doing so. So I tend to leave that. So you're going to grab your 91-degree water again. You're going to take your timer, just set it there. So we're doing 13 grams of coffee to 200 grams of water. We're going to start pouring, and we're going to do what's called a bloom. So your bloom is a short pour. So it's like pre-infusion on an espresso machine. So all you're doing is you're introducing water to the bed of coffee before going into the actual brewing process. And all this does is it makes sure that the grounds are evenly saturated before you start brewing, and it should lead to a more even cup. So we're going to start pouring and just start the timer as soon as we've started pouring. And we're going to do a 30-gram bloom. There we go. And we're just going to give it a quick agitation, just a quick like spin. So throughout the brew, we're going to be agitating it just with like a quick shake, and we're going to wait 30 seconds. So timer's hit 30 and we're going to go up to 100 grams on the scales. There we go. And then we're going to do another agitation again. And all that agitation is doing is it's picking up all of the grounds stuck on the outside and bringing it back into the brewing process just to make sure that everything is brewing. And then we've hit 1 minute on the timer, and we're going to bring it up to 200 grams. This is our final pour. And we're aiming for this to finish at around 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And once the water is completely passed through the bed, once it looks dry on top and the water's completely passed through the bed, we're just going to stop the timer there. So that was a bit of a long brew, probably because I've got it on too fine a grind size. This is a new coffee, I've not had this before, so this is my first brew with it, but it's still drinkable. And at the end of the brew, all we're going to do is just give the brewer a couple taps, just to make sure that any water still trapped in the bed sort of like releases and ends up in the cup. So that is our coffee there. Yeah, it doesn't smell over extracted, so that smells fine. Cheers. Yeah, so that tastes fine. I definitely need to go slightly coarser, so I will make note of that. But just for demonstration, yeah, worked out fine, tastes fine. So I'm just going to go over the brewing process again, because I missed some things while I was brewing. I was way too focused on actually brewing than I was talking. So, when you are brewing, when you're pouring, you need to make sure that you're doing it in a circular motion. So if you remember from earlier, I was pouring in a circular motion, and what that does is it makes sure that the entire bed is agitated, all of the grounds are agitated and all involved in the brewing process. And the other thing is the brewing method. So there's 3 pours. So you've got the bloom, you've got the first pour and the second pour. And the bloom is, like I explained earlier, all that does is it agitates the grounds and evenly saturates them in preparation for the brewing process. And then the 2 pours after that is the bulk of the brewing. The bloom starts at 0 seconds and you pour up to 30 grams. The pour after that starts at 30 seconds and you pour up to 100 grams. And then the pour after that starts at 1 minute and you pour up to 200 grams. So just to summarize, make sure that you've got fresh filtered water. Make sure that you've got fresh coffee and that you're grinding it yourself. If you can't grind it yourself for whatever reason, then make sure that the ground coffee that you're getting is as fresh as possible. And use a thermometer to measure the temperature of the water to make sure that you're using the same temperature water across brews just for consistency. And that is how I brew a pour over. And to get started with pour overs, it's really cheap. All of the gear that you saw me use, except for the grinder of course, was pretty cheap to get and won't break the bank. I hope this video has helped you understand how pour overs work and how to brew them. Like, comment, subscribe for more content like this, and I will see you soon.